honestly, he never got a good shot as Superman. Like, he never got a really great cat. We saw the best sample of him coming out of the, over-bloated Justice League reboot, where he's not just a he's not the idiots, he's not the foolishness of what Joss Whedon did, but it was like, okay, we can see where this Superman could go. And he's got the look for it. He's got the gravitas for it.
Yeah.
And if there was any part that needed to be kept, I felt like he was the only one that we needed to do. But
yeah. Oh, well, last week we talked about it. I thought they were all pretty good. But James Gunn has just wiped the slate clean. He's going back to
Black Adam just shellacked. Like, yo, we're not even going to talk about a Black Adam too. Like, would this arguably be the first movie cinematic failure for The Rock?
Oh, he's probably had a couple. This is the one that will hurt the most. I'm sure there's other films he's done which have kind of faded away because, there's probably films out there we've forgotten about because we don't tend to remember, the less interesting and less popular ones. But this one is going to hurt hard because he threw everything behind it. He is now realized he is human. And The Rock cannot cook up everything in his kitchen. He could not, for all his star power, for all his posturing, for all his energy and stuff, he could not pull this one off. And he's just going to have to eat a little bit of humble pie, I think.
Yeah.
I would not want to be James Gunn and run into The Rock in a dark alley because he's probably going to get the shit kicked out of him. He's going to have to go back to Kevin Hart and do another Central Intelligence too or something.
Right. Honestly, I actually think this might be the biggest failure considering the hype because I think the only other movie that he's had that really flopped, like flop, was maybe G.I. Joe Retaliations, and that still did all right. And then there was the Grounded Hercules, which was all right. It wasn't amazing, but I don't consider it to be a flop. But I think this Black Adams was a flop.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. G.I. Joe was a ensemble piece, wasn't it? Like he wasn't. Yes. This one, he not only carried it on screen,
he
carried it off screen,
yeah.
And he got up in front of all these TV shows and Jimmy Kimmel and all that, and said we're bringing back Superman as if he himself was bringing back Superman. Like that's why this is going to really humble him because he kind of took full ownership of this on and off the screen as if he was going to, he got his own way in that it wasn't going to be part of Shazam 2.
Yeah.
He was part of the production of it. He was definitely part of the post-production and promotion. Almost bragging, almost taking it upon himself to bring back Henry Cavill. And now James Gunn's just pressed the ejection button. So I imagine this has got to hurt. I can't see this not hurting him. It didn't. I said it didn't break even at the box office, but he could have still brought the character back and still made something of it. The brand could have continued. Now,
but no, nothing.
But I'd imagine the same would be feeling for most of those guys. I mean, I guess
I don't
will
think
Henry Cavill go back to The Witcher?
I mean, can they? Because now that Liam is now part of it. Like, can they just I guess anybody can renounce an announcement after that. But, it's interesting because right now, even though this happened, this is also really advantageous for Henry Cavill because, which actually in contrast is actually what we talk about hurting The Rock. Henry Cavill has the will of the people now. So whatever he gets put in, people are going to be rooting for him because ultimately Warner Brothers Discovery screwed him out of perceptively screwed him out of Superman and then obviously what it feels like screwed him out of The Witcher, which in reality he might have actually been just wanting to get out of The Witcher and not liked what it was going on, but we got correlation without causation.
We don't know. Tell you who's taking it hard.
Who?
Because before I came on, I was listening to Heavy Spoilers and Paul Definition or whatever he's called. he was just saying,
Yo,
this is terrible. He was like last week, he was like, I don't know what is going on here with this. Is going really bad, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure they're not going to get rid of all of them. Then you hear like John Campion, and he says, slide them all out, get rid of them, start again. And then you hear, Charlie from Emergency Awesome going, he's being diplomatic because he always is.
Of course.
But Heavy Spoiler was like, they don't know what he just. And then he just in the last 5 minutes, he's just piling on Warner Brothers, just saying these, just like you and Sony. He's just doing a going full Sony on him, full gift Sony. Just saying, this guy's always stuffing up. They always do. They're not going to get this right. He's just, man. He's in a deep depression.
Listen to this.
But that's the change that they're taking. The fan, you're talking about the love of the fans for these characters. Sorry, not for the character, for the characters. But they had a Superman people liked.
Yeah.
They had a Wonder Woman people liked. They had an Aquaman people liked. They probably could have learnt to like Black Adam. They probably could have learnt to like Ben Affleck a bit more. We didn't
really get to see it manifest itself. And again, the issue, a lot of it was the story was all just convoluted. Like it was always all over the place. But the characters were never the issue. It was just the stories.
I mean, Shazam has a really good movie, and he's not really crossed over with anyone in a significant way. Can they keep the Shazam?
Hey, is my camera flashing?
Yeah, it's flashing. I've got.
Okay.
I'm waiting for some skull to come up and go. If you want to see Gift again, you must pay me $1 million. Explosion.
I think it's too many wires crossing into each other right now. All right, we're good.
So Shazam is the one you kind of sit there and go, well, same with Peacemaker. There was that little end credit there with the
Aquaman,
the Flash and stuff, but they haven't really. Same, I guess, with the whole Suicide Squad, except for perhaps Harley Quinn. No one's really bumped into anyone, and they could conceivably keep going. But if you've done Henry Cavill, then no one is sacred,
right?
Which is for Shazam is a real bummer because that was a good movie. I really enjoyed Shazam, and I'm really looking forward to this next one too. So.
Yeah, well, I guess we technically have all those characters one last time for Flash and then gone for good.
Yeah. Oh, James Gunn. Oh, he's going to probably have lots of sleepless nights. I noticed he's been twittering away.
Phone calls that people are going to keep calling him, pranking him. How dare you? Die for now continuing on the Snyderverse. Raggedy.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I could not. You know what I think about Snyder? I just could not give a flying whatever about Snyder.
I'm the same. The Snyder storyline means nothing to me. But
the man is gifted. The man is gifted. Let's face it. But to give him Feige-like control was probably
the worst.
And again, there's probably a whole heap of stuff behind that, and a whole heap of really bad executives. You probably know they are. But to me,
we really need to put the blame strongly on Jeff Johns, who, thank God, is now out. But
useless prick.
Absolutely, great comic book writer, but horrible producer.
But just to give it to Snyder, when you see his work, he is an artiste. Yes. All right, he is a guy who is a visionary. He's not a man who can bring together
He's not an organizer. Yeah.
He's not an organizer. He's not a big picture. And he produced a style of film starting from Man of Steel and then doubling down with Superman and Batman and then doubling down again. A style of film which just could not be replicated and just could not travel. I mean, people get angry at Marvel for being kind of bland, not having a strong color palette, but at least it then can be used elsewhere. They're not fixed into anything. It is a little bit now. I mean, Taika Waititi kind of fixed Thor into one thing, and I guess we've got a different kind of
different paleting, but it still is transferable once you move the characters into their shared spaces.
But to see Shazam in the same universe as the Justice League,
Yeah.
It just feels strange. And Snyderverse put together a heavily stylized kind of package and universe that was almost impossible for other people to replicate.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe!
Die or die.